Spurs suddenly decide to lock in whilst the Gunners go 6 points clear at the top. Hollywood FC miss out on quadruple promotion. Inter clinch their 21st Scudetto. And Switzerland's own Leicester miracle is officially complete. This is DMAC Daily. Not gonna lie, as a Chelsea fan, an abysmal weekend of hate watching. We got Spurs suddenly morphing into prime Spain. What's that about? And at the other end of the table, Arsenal produced their best performance in months to go top of the Premier League. Saka looking like an elite winger again? Didn't see that coming. On a more serious note though, and how big of a result was this for Spurs? In the midst of a devastating injury crisis with an apocalyptic relegation scenario on the cards, the Zerbi side have produced one of their best performances of the season in a 2-1 win away at Villa. Granted, it was evident that Unai Emery didn't really prioritize this fixture with Villa's Europa League semi-final second leg in mind. The majority of key first-team players were either rested or on the bench, but still, a huge result for Spurs on the road. That's back-to-back Premier League wins now under De Zerbi, 7 points gained out of a possible 12 since stepping in. Not bad for a club facing a potential existential threat. Absolutely wild to think that as bad as Spurs have been, they also have the third best away record in the entire league, a baffling statistic. But yeah, Gallagher's and Richarlison's goals ensured they now sit above the drop in 17th, thanks to West Ham succumbing to a 3-0 defeat away at Brentford. A pretty brutal outcome, truth be told, as the Hammers hit the woodwork on 3 separate occasions. They also had a goal disallowed by the narrowest of margins, and Kelleher produced 2 spectacular saves as well. Staying in London, and of course, we gotta quickly talk about Arsenal's performance, because it was very good. They couldn't have asked for more, to be honest. Gyökeres picking up a brace. That's 21 for the season now, while Saka back in the starting 11 and delivering a desperately needed goal and assist. I also thought Trossard looked very sharp on the opposite flank. Miles Lewis-Skelly in his first game in midfield this season impressed, and defensively very competent too. For all the question marks about their crumbling mentality, this was huge for them. A comfortable 3 points, a result that sees them extend their margin at the top to 6, but of course, City still have the chance to reduce that gap to 3 points tomorrow with a game in hand on top of that. It's most likely going to go down to the wire. Perhaps goal difference could even decide the title. Meanwhile, Man United completed the league double over Liverpool this season in a 3-2 thriller at Old Trafford. They came out of the gate swinging early on with 2 goals. There was controversy upon Seshko's goal. It was eventually awarded as the referee was unable to determine if there was a conclusive handball. A later zoomed in angle showed there was definitely contact with the hand. By the letter of the law, technically that shouldn't have stood, but VAR drama aside, it was an abysmal showing by Liverpool. This performance summarized their entire season. They deserved to lose. Szoboszlai carried in an otherwise feckless forward line. Lamens Howler got them back into this game, but in the end, Kobbie Mainoo would ensure the Red Devils took home all 3 points with a classy first-time strike from the edge of the box. A huge result for Carrick's men. What a job he's done since stepping in mid-season. Since he arrived, they've picked up more points than any other side in the Prem. Surely he has done enough to be given the job on a permanent basis moving forward. What impressed me most is that he didn't reinvent the wheel. He went back to the basics, scrapping the inverted fullback nonsense, scrapped playing Bruno as a DM. No. 4-2-3-1 with their best player playing in his preferred 10 role. He brought Mainoo back into the side, and look what's since unfolded. I cannot believe that there are still some United fans that cling on to this notion that Ruben Amorim wasn't entirely out of his depth. This man had their best homegrown talent in years rotting on the bench for 6 straight months. Carrick's team isn't perfect, but gee, they're a lot better under his leadership. Staying in the Prem, and the lock-in of Leeds United needs to be studied at this point. In the midst of their own relegation battle, they've gone unbeaten in 6, the latest a 3-1 win over Burnley. Daniel Farke, take a bow, mate. Last but not least, Bournemouth rise up to 6th place with a 3-0 win at home to Palace. Junior Krupi breaking Rooney's record as the most prolific teenager in Premier League history with 12 league goals. I keep reiterating, this kid is a future superstar. Just like fellow teammate Ryan, who bagged his 4th since arriving in January. So much churn with Bournemouth. They lost their entire backline last season basically, yet have somehow reached new heights this campaign. Such a brilliantly run club, from the recruitment to the manager at the helm to impressive stuff wherever you look. Staying in English football news, and matchday 46 of the Championship was a wild one. Ipswich confirmed they're going straight back up to the Prem. A dominant 3-0 win at Portman Road secured 2nd place. Unreal scenes at full time with the pitch invasion. We had Ed Sheeran belting out the A-team in the changing rooms. I can't lie, I was a little confused though, as they actually lifted a trophy. I genuinely didn't know this was a thing. Maybe Arsenal could win something in the championship. Millwall would have been fuming with Ipswich getting the win though, as they'll now have to settle for the playoffs, although they won't be facing Hollywood FC, as Wrexham could only pick up a point at home to Middlesbrough, as Hull City instead crept in with a huge 2-1 come from behind victory over Norwich at home. Ollie McBurney bagging a brace to keep their Premier League dreams intact. So there'll be no quadruple promotion for the Welsh High Flyers, as Millwall, Southampton, Middlesbrough and Hull City will now battle for that illustrious Premier League playoff spot. Who will win? Let me know in the comments below. Moving to Italy, and Inter have officially secured the Serie A title, the 21st of the club's history, thanks to a 2-0 win over Parma. And I gotta say, all things considered, Christian Chivu has done a pretty stellar job since stepping into the Nerazzurri hot seat. Sure, they were humiliated in the UCL at the hands of Bodo Glimt. That was a low point for sure. But domestically, they've been the best team in Italy by some margin this season. Something I honestly didn't expect back in August, considering this was Chivu's first full season in management. He'd only overseen 13 games professionally prior to being handed this job. An accomplished player, sure, but it doesn't necessarily translate to the coaching environment. Just ask Andrea Pirlo. So it was a tall order to replace the highly accomplished Inzaghi, but Chivu has kept the winning mentality intact, becoming the first non-Italian coach since Mourinho back in 2010 to lift the title in Italy. The Romanian side are also one game shy of Coppa Italia glory too. The old guard has continued to perform. Di Marco literally broke the Serie A assist record as a wingback this season. Doesn't get talked about enough, but there's also a next gen that's emerging within this group too. The likes of Esposito, Boni, Sucic looks a real player, Bishek keeps improving as well. Moving down the table, and Napoli, Milan, Juventus and Como all dropped points over the weekend, so Roma have a golden opportunity to leapfrog Como into 5th place tomorrow. That top 4 is anyone's guess, as has been the case for the entire season really. Moving to Germany, and the biggest headline over the weekend wasn't from the top flight, but rather the Bundesliga 2, as Schalke have been promoted and crowned champions following a 1-0 win over Dusseldorf. Their captain Karaman with a classy goal to secure the title in front of a crowd of over 61,000 jubilant fans. This club has been through the ringer in recent years. They were literally in relegation territory last campaign, so a dream scenario to back that up with title glory. Shout out to their legendary striker Edin Dzeko too. He arrived mid-season at the tender age of 40 and showed that class is permanent, bagging 6 goals, 3 assists in just 9 games. A dream season for the Bosnian icon, having helped guide his country to the World Cup for the first time in 12 years, and now this. Speaking of veteran forwards, and Robert Lewandowski came in clutch for Barca over the weekend, opening the scoring in a 2-1 win away at Osasuna. A powerful header from the Polish Unk. Ferran would make it 2 shortly after, so with 11-point gap, they now look set to win the league in next week's El Clasico, unless Madrid can take all 3 points at the Camp Nou. For the meantime, their title hopes are still mathematically possible thanks to a brilliant Vini Jr. display. 2 outstanding goals. The first was just filthy, a double ankle breaker, and the second equally brilliant. The flick from Bellingham was cheeky, and the first time strike, brilliant stuff. It's so ironic to me that every time Mbappe is absent, Vini steps up. Meanwhile, Atletico picked up all 3 points at the Mestalla despite resting basically their entire first team. And Nahuel Molina was inches away from scoring another Puskás contender. I don't know what this dude's been eating lately, but it's become abundantly clear this lad can strike a football. Arsenal, do not let this bloke have a shot from range, because it's becoming a cheat code at this point. Switching gears to Switzerland, and the miracle is complete. 10 years after Leicester City famously defied their 5,000 to 1 odds to become Premier League champions, FC Thun have executed their own mind-blowing feat. Now, this club is hardly a powerhouse in Swiss football. In fact, in their previous 128-year history, only 2 trophies had been won. One of those came 1 year ago as champions of Switzerland's 2nd tier, obviously resulting in promotion to the top flight. They didn't spend huge money upon promotion. 6 new arrivals for a little over €1 million. Figure roughly 1/15 that of the previous Swiss Super League champions FC Basel. So with limited finances and the 2nd lowest valued squad in the division heading into the season, expectations were understandably modest. Avoiding relegation was the primary goal. However, they then won their opening league fixture. Then they won again. and again and again. Heading into the Christmas break, halfway through the season, and newly promoted Thun were top of the league. Everyone still expected this lot to eventually drop off, but that didn't happen. Under manager Mauro Lustrinelli's 4-4-2 system, just like Leicester, he's created his own winning machine. Their strikers, Rastador and Ibai, both hit double-digit league goals in attack, as has midfielder Bertone. However, this has been a real collective effort. 17 separate goal scorers have contributed throughout the squad, pushing themselves to new heights as the season progressed. And despite suffering back-to-back defeats in their last 2 match days, results elsewhere confirmed that they were officially crowned champions of the 25-26 Swiss Super League. Back-to-back league titles and their first major trophy in the club's 128-year history. From the little town of roughly 45,000 people, this is probably the story of the season in Europe. Perhaps a few Hearts fans will disagree if they can become the first Scottish team in 41 years to win the league title that isn't Celtic or Rangers, so keep an eye on that one too. There were also huge scenes in Bulgaria as Levski Sofia won their first league title in 17 years, ending Ludogorets' 14-year reign of successive league titles. And in Portugal, Porto were crowned champions at the Estadio Dragão. Francesco Farioli with an incredible debut season at the club. It's also wild to me that Mourinho of Benfica is just 2 games shy from going invincible in the league, yet will have nothing to show for it. I don't know what's going on in Portugal. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.